I'm Babs Wise.
And I'm Bevan Ty.
All right. And
so you're all about to have some amazing experiences through Duke. Most students know about scholarships to attend college, but many of you all, and us included when we were in your shoes, didn't necessarily know about things like nationally competitive scholarships for other great opportunities. So these are activities you can pursue both during college and after. Now, we should say that most of these are not awards for college expenses. For help with those, see your financial aid officer.
so we work with all Duke students in nationally competitive scholarships. We're here to help you become aware of funding opportunities and sources beyond Duke to further your goals and interests. We want to tell you about the opportunities from study abroad to graduate school that stack on top of your Duke experience and bridge beyond your Duke career. There are even some opportunities you can apply for in your first year. For example, the UK Summer Fulbright Institutes. These are about 3 to 6 weeks long. You get to go study at one of the incredible universities in the UK. The programs change every year. I think this slide shows some of the programs. One was at the Globe Theatre in London, studying Shakespeare. One was in Bristol, studying the slave trade. Last year, they did one on social justice, also at Bristol. And in Scotland, at Glasgow, they studied tech and innovation. Really amazing opportunities for students. The people in England just want you to come and have a chance to explore some of their universities. So perhaps when you finish Duke, you would want to go spend some more time there.
So, and this slide shares a couple of different opportunities that can help you afford study abroad. So these are 2 awards specifically for people with financial need. The Gilman can support up to $5,000 for a summer or a semester of study abroad. This can be paired with other forms of support you have. And if you do study a critical need language, you have access to a little bit more funding. Critical need languages being those that are identified as especially helpful, serving US interests abroad for you to study. There are multiple deadlines with Gilman depending on when the study abroad program is that you're looking at. And then Freeman Asia is similar. It's a sister program that specifically supports study abroad to Asia. And then there are more awards open to you sophomore year and beyond. Most of these, the applications are going to be due in the fall. So another category, there are those specifically to help you learn languages. There's a lot of nuance in these 2 awards, but just so you know, Boren and Critical Language Scholarship could be 2 that support your study of what are called less commonly taught languages. So generally, these are things beyond Spanish, French, German. These are things like Asian, African, Middle Eastern languages. With Critical Language Scholarship, it's a shorter list of 14 languages. But with that program, they provide the intensive language study and all of the funding. You tell them what language you want to study. And in some cases, you can apply as a beginner in that language. Boren is a little more complicated, but also really rewarding to get into, especially if you are investigating a career with the federal government, just about in any facet of the federal government, because they want folks who take up that language study to come and work for them for at least a year after taking up one of those awards.
Another category of scholarships are those for aspiring scientists. The DAAD RISE program actually lets you do an internship in a lab in Germany. And because the language of a lab in Germany is English, you don't have to know any German to get along. And most of the universities are in cities where a lot of people speak English, so you can do your groceries in English as well, which is helpful. The other very prestigious award for aspiring scientists is the Goldwater. This is a national award that pays toward your tuition while you're a student. And it's looking for people who plan to stay in the sciences and do PhD research. Unfortunately, this is one of those awards where we can only nominate a few people, and so we have campus applications due in October to help us with that. So a third category is advocate funding, okay? The Truman and the Udall are two of Bevan and my favorite scholarships, just because we get to meet really incredible students through both of these. Truman is a scholarship for people who want to have what are called public service careers. And public service Truman defines that very widely. So you can, it used to be everybody thought you had to be a lawyer to be a Truman Scholar, that's where you were going to be. But we have had people planning to be MDs, people planning to go into business, people planning all kinds of careers who become Trumans. This one pays towards your graduate school. But it also, you join a network of former Truman Scholars and really get to be a part of a community that are people that are going to change the world. Udall is very similar. It tends to specialize in the environment or in Native American issues. Those are the two things that they want to fund people who are advocates in. And again, this will pay slightly towards your tuition, and it has a networking component as well. Both of these are incredibly neat and prestigious awards to apply for.
And here are a pair of awards that we want to put on your radar, especially for those who are anticipating wanting research careers or a career in the arts or humanities. So the Beinecke is an award that supports graduate study for those both with exceptional promise and with financial need. It offers $30,000 towards graduate expenses and a little bit of funds beforehand that could help you explore graduate programs or get settled ahead of graduate school. This is one where we're only able to nominate a single person out of the junior class each fall. So if you get really fired up in your studies in the arts, humanities, social sciences, and really start doing some research, think about Beinecke. Similarly, the Mellon Mays Undergraduate Research Fellowship is really hoping to offer support, research mentorship to those who are underrepresented within academia to really fuel their intellectual engagement and their exploration of a path on to do PhD level study and then to have a PhD research career. So this is one that Babs and I don't necessarily handle directly, but our colleagues within USIF, the Office of University Scholars and Fellows, of which we're a part, our colleagues do host this program, and they are especially looking for applicants out of the sophomore class, and those applications are generally due in the spring. So if this sounds like you, if this sounds like a career direction you want to explore, keep your eyes out for the Mellon Mays as well. And then this is just a slide of some of the folks that we're celebrating from this year and last year. These are some of the folks who've won awards. They applied for it in their sophomore and junior year. So like we mentioned, Truman, Daisy's been doing advocacy with communities responding to ICE. I can't remember Rohin's exact area of research in the sciences, but he was named a Goldwater Scholar this past year. Last year with Goldwater, we had an outstanding year. All 4 of our nominees were awarded the Goldwater Scholarship. And then on the second line, we have one of our recent Beinecke's, a trio of Udall scholars from the past 2 years. And then Chelsea also won Gilman Scholarship support for her SIT study abroad program to look at comparative public health questions. So then in your junior year in the spring semester is a really great time to connect with us, thinking about the awards that you actually experience after graduation. So that sounds weird, but in the spring semester of your junior year is a great time to get more familiar with some of these opportunities on the following slides.
Okay, so many of the awards probably that you've heard of, like the Rhodes, are for graduate study. You are thinking, these are for folks who are thinking about spending some time at graduate school in the UK particularly, although on the Fulbright you can go most anywhere in the world to almost any university in the world. So there are a variety of these scholarships. The Marshall is 2 years at any university in the UK. So you can go to Cambridge, you can go to King's College London, you can go to York, all kinds of cool places. Rhodes is 2 years, but only at Oxford. Now you can go to Oxford on the Marshall as well. The Gates Cambridge will take you to Cambridge University. They prefer folks who are looking for PhDs, but hint here, if you're thinking about a PhD and you want to speed up your study, the UK is an incredible place to do that, because usually a PhD takes only 3 to 4 years in the UK. Then there are a few awards for graduate school in the US. There are not many that are not school specific. And those are, if you're planning to do a State Department program or work with USAID, there are things like the Pickering, the Wrangell, and the Payne that will give you a couple of years of graduate study here in the US. And then for folks who are either immigrants themselves or both of your parents are immigrants, the PD Soros pays almost $90,000 toward graduate school for students who are selected. Then there is a school-specific scholarship, which is starting to get known. It's accepted 3 classes now. They're building their program gradually, and that is the Knight Hennessy at Stanford. A great opportunity. This, along with Truman, which you would win as a junior, but you use for graduate school. The Knight Hennessy and the Truman are the few scholarships that we know that pay toward medical school. Soros will also pay towards that, excuse me. So there's 3 there. All right, let's see what else we have.
Yeah, and these are some other awards that, so while Fulbright was mentioned as a possibility for graduate study abroad, it can also apply to you doing your own independent research outside the US, you helping others learn English. There's a huge array of countries you can apply to, but you can only apply to one for any given year. And then there's some other awards where you get professional immersion, like the Luce Scholars Program, but it's less just experience in Asia with Luce. They're really looking for people to make the case that they are positioning themselves to be a leader in their field of choice. So that's a lot to aspire to, but it's something that is worth taking a shot at, making that story to advocate for yourself. And then I think our next slides shows some more faces of folks we're really proud of.
Yeah, all of these folks are doing graduate school abroad and have come through our office in the last year. Really proud of all of them. You see a Rhodes Scholar, a Churchill Scholar. That's a very, very prestigious award for students who are in the sciences at Cambridge. You see our this year's crop of Knight Hennessy Scholars, a Luce Scholar. There's Katie Becker down there, is a Hillary Clinton Scholar, which is a new designation, and that's at Queen's University Belfast, where she'll be studying conflict for the next year. Babu is a Yenching Scholar. He is in, he'll be at Peking University next year, which is a great opportunity. And then of course, there's our Gates Cambridge Scholar for this year. All of them we're extremely proud of. Many of these folks we got to know in the spring of their junior year, as they started to think about things like the Rhodes and some of these other scholarships. Yesterday was, for Bevan and I, a big day because all of our students who are applying for those major awards had a deadline. And so we're excited to see who's going to be in this slide next year.
So, and these are several Duke students and alumni who've won a variety of different awards over the past several years. And some of these people, it might be worth noting, I'm trying to scan my memory, we work with people who apply as alumni as well for awards. So even, and I know that's far off in your mind, but even after you graduate from Duke, if you're still eligible for an award, we can still work with you and still support you. So here's a wonderful group of folks, and the next slide, yeah, has another great crop. And I should say this is a smattering of people who've applied for awards that they take up after they graduate, including sophomore and junior awards. But this doesn't include any of the Fulbrighters who've won in the same amount of time. We'd have twice as many slides if we included that group. So these are just a few highlights of some successful Duke students.
So now maybe what you're really asking yourself is, okay, these all sound like great opportunities and I'm at the beginning of my Duke career. How do I make myself into one of these scholars? And so each of these scholarships is very different and looking for something slightly different. It's Bevan's and my job to help you think about how you might fit those characteristics and to help you choose what's the right scholarship to put your mind around. But they're all looking for some combination of these things. Academic excellence. You need to come to Duke and do a good job on your academics. I'm sure your folks are telling you that as well, but this is something that we'll want you to look at. They also want, you know, do you think deep? Do you belong in graduate school? What's your potential for what you say you want to do? Have you had experiences of leadership while you were a Duke student? Usually as you get up older at Duke, by the spring of your junior year, you can no longer talk about high school. So you want to start gathering some more things in leadership. Many of them are interested in your community engagement. Folks, the Knight Hennessy at Stanford wants people who outcare other people. So you want to think about, how are you caring for others? How are you engaged in your community? They're all looking for fit with program. Again, Bevan and I work hard with you on that to make sure that you have, that you're applying for the right program to suit both your career needs and what they're looking for. And then some of them are also looking at language ability. If you wanted to do a research project on a Fulbright in, say, France, and you needed to interview people, well, you'd certainly need some French to make that one happen. So that's what they're talking about. It depends on what you're doing, but certain ones do require a language ability. Okay, so how do you get ready? Well, we asked a bunch of our students to kind of help us with that. And I'd love for you to hear now from Gabby Stewart, who won the Rhodes a couple of years ago. As I play this slide, Please note that we noticed this morning that Zoom isn't really good at lip syncing, but let's give it a try, okay?
Hi, my name's Gabby Stewart, and one thing I really wish I knew when I was starting at Duke is just how valuable the academic openness and flexibility of the first year is. So right now I'm a PhD student at Oxford University, and when you're an undergraduate here, you choose your course of study before you even matriculate, and you rarely take classes that kind of go beyond what you study in your major. And I just know that that really wouldn't have worked for me when I was 17 years old. When I started at Duke, I really had no idea what I wanted to do. It took taking a variety of classes in a variety of disciplines to settle on what I ultimately studied, which was classics. But even after I settled on classics, taking courses in neuroscience, environmental policy, American history, all of that really broadened the way that I approached the material I was confronting in classics, and continues to kind of inform my thinking to this day. So I know this is said a lot, but really take the first year just to broaden your academic horizons. There will be plenty of chances to deepen them in the following 3 years. And you can do that through focus. You can do that through just taking a course that you know nothing about.
Okay, so when we're talking about academic excellence and how to approach your academics over the next 4 years in order to think about one of these scholarships, we want to encourage you to take the courses that both challenge you and intrigue you. When you read the course in the book bag, you know, is it something that you're interested in? You know, will it kind of challenge you you know, will you stretch yourself a little bit when you take this course? One thing I will note is that faculty are not very good at writing those little write-ups. So sometimes you want to go to the course for a week or so during drop ad to make sure sometimes the class is more interesting than it looks in the write-up, okay? We do encourage you to go beyond the minimum in your major. Look, as you decide later on what you want to do, what kind of graduate work you might want to do, we'll encourage you to look at the entrance requirements for that graduate degree. What does it take? You know, how can you explore the things that you're interested in around your major? You know, can you take some graduate work that would supplement what you're doing? Majors usually require only about 10 courses, some a little bit more, but there's plenty of room in your curriculum to do more and to explore topics that you're interested in beyond that. The other really important thing to do is to get involved in research. And there are many opportunities to do this, including in art history and English. You don't think really of ways to do research there, but there are lots of ways to get involved here at Duke. One of the early ways that you might want to look at is Bass Connections. They're usually looking for people to join their teams in January, so that would be something to look at. And the Undergraduate Research Support Office has a lot of tips on how to get started. Another place to talk with is the faculty in your courses. But and if you can't find anything else, let us know and we'll see what we can do to connect you with people. But really do plan to do research during your time here.
So building on that encouragement for you to connect with people, we have a whole community of different kinds of advisors for you to connect with. I want to highlight two in particular that are here, the directors of academic engagement, who can help you get a sense of what's available to you on campus in terms of especially different kinds of service and when the time is ripe, international opportunities as well. And I think sometimes people get the impression that the Career Center is only relevant to them when they're applying for a job after graduation. But the kind of work and reflection you put into materials, like a resume, like any application for an opportunity that you pursue, is the sort of work you do time and again that helps put your best foot forward and helps you make sense of these different pieces of what you've done and what you want next. So I would encourage you to partner with them as well. I think either of those groups in particular, some of the support they can give you overlaps with some of what we can give you as well.
One of my biggest tips is over the course of your time here to get to know your faculty. And how do you think about how to get to know faculty, especially in this sort of age of electronics, and you'll probably be in some virtual classes. So they're gonna have office hours and those are gonna be posted. Make sure you go at least once or twice a semester to the faculty that are teaching your courses. And if you get there and you're not sure what to ask them about, first think of a question that comes from the last lecture, perhaps. And so, start off with that question and then settle into your chair and ask them about their research. Faculty, and how they got involved in what they're doing. Faculty can talk for hours about their research, so do settle into a chair. The other way to use those office hours is to ask faculty for advice. I got interested in this subject in your class. What is another class, maybe that you're not teaching, maybe one of your colleagues is teaching, that I should take next semester? What should I do? They love those kind of questions. You should also, as you consider majors, think about emailing a DUS. That's a director of undergraduate studies, okay? Every department has one that is sort of the person that coordinates the teaching and the undergraduates in the department. So email a DUS in the subject that you're interested in and ask them what it means to major in your subject. What do people do with these degrees? What kind of research is available in your topic? I also suggest another place to meet folks is your faculty in residence. I don't know exactly how that's going to work this fall, but these are really cool people who want to be engaged with you. And they have a lot of friends on campus. So, if you're looking for research in a certain kind of department, they may know somebody who can help you find a placement. And then there are a lot of places on campus where you can meet people. And I think they're going to try and do as many of these opportunities virtually as possible. So people who have them, we've mentioned a few names here: Duke Conversations, Science and Society, Kenan Ethics, the Franklin Humanities. And then there's that funny DUCIGS. What is that? Duke has more acronyms, but that's the Duke University Center for International and Global Studies. And they've had a really amazing set of seminars in the last year or so that are really interesting about current affairs that are going on. And then, if you're still having trouble this coming February and haven't really figured all of this out, we do an event in February called Fellowships February. And one of our sessions is always about engaging with faculty. And we try and bring faculty from several different departments to talk to you about how they want to get met, okay? So that you can have a chance to maybe ask them about strategies.
So this next slide are some thoughts about connecting with faculty from a student we've worked with, Monica, who's a Udall scholar.
My advice for first-year students at Duke would be to seek out a mentor. It is important to establish relationships with people at Duke beyond the freshman bubble, and having a mentor allows you to do so while also providing you support and guidance with your transition to college. Duke is an amazing place, and you can find mentorship through advisors, faculty members, academic deans, and upperclassmen. Having a mentor that understands you and your interests can be critical in helping you explore careers, set goals, develop contacts, and identify resources. Well, searching for a mentor related to your academic and career interests, I would suggest reaching out to a professor and asking to flunch. A flunch is basically a lunch between you and a professor, and it is paid for by Duke University. As a freshman, I utilized a flunch with Dr. Sarah Gaither, and I just expressed my interest in her research and her research lab. And from there, me and her have built a relationship that we have to this day. She is my biggest advocate and has helped me develop and evolve my own academic and research career.
So Flunch is going to be a program available to you again in the future. And this slide is really just to say, you know, when conditions support it, reach out for these other kinds of involvements that will help you explore your interests, get connected with a wider group of people. Some of you may have already been volunteering remotely throughout the summer. Some of these things like Duke Engage, for example, I know they did a lot of virtual experiences over this past summer, but there's just a whole wealth of different kinds of activities. Winter Forum in particular is this shorter time frame of delving into a topic that might be totally unrelated to things you've studied before. I think one of the ones that have been really popular in the past are looking at animal behavior, looking at research with dogs. There are all different kinds of offerings there generally. And of course, there are student activities. And then, you know, as conditions allow, getting involved in the rest of Durham community or the community that you're a part of back home really just can be enriching for you and can help you make connections that you might not otherwise have made if you were all classwork all the time.
So we're going to bring Gabby back to talk about what she suggests that you focus on in your first year.
My biggest piece of advice for incoming freshmen is to really intentionally cultivate activities, habits, passions, things that have absolutely nothing to do with your academic trajectory or your CV. And this is definitely easier said than done. I even remember finding myself trying to find books to read and asking questions like, you know, what can I gain from this? What does this say about me as like a learner or an intellectual? And, you know, is it even worth my time when my time is limited and constrained by all of these things I want to do to develop professionally? It's really easy to fall into this mindset where everything is just utilitarian, like it has to lead to some end. But just remember that undergraduate isn't only 4 years of academic and professional growth, but it's 4 years of personal development, and ultimately it's 4 years of your life. And doing things that enrich you, regardless of whether they have some, you know, legible utility to the world, or regardless of your skill level when you're performing them, doing these things helps you understand yourself better. And that's something that you should allow yourself time to do.
So it's hard to transition from Gabby. I really like what she says. But one of the things that you should do during these 4 years is discover who you are as a leader. And what do we mean by that? The way that we and many of the foundations who fund these scholarships talk about what leadership is someone who has the ability to kind of step back and see where a problem might be, and who can think of a solution and gather people to make that change, And then, you know, can look back and see impact in what they did. Some of the places that you can do this is through student government or clubs, or, you know, being president of your dorm, or some people do it in the classroom, in group projects or other places there. Some do it in volunteer experiences. And then there's an office here on campus, the student leadership office, and sometimes they can lead you to these opportunities. But think about, you know, where you don't have to do it through anything formal, but, you know, discover who you are, what kinds of leadership do you best exhibit, and how can you grow in those ways. Student leadership office can also help you grow in your leadership, which I think is pretty cool. In addition to discovering leadership, I'm also interested in making sure that you spend your time being inquisitive, okay? Think about things outside in the world. Keep up with what's happening in the news. I know it's depressing right now, okay? But keep up with what's happening in the news. Learn what your peers are doing. You know, if you're an English person, English all the way, what is your classmate doing in their biology lab? What does it really mean to do research in the sciences as opposed to research in your class? Find out what other people are doing. And go back to what you did when you were 2 or 3 years old and ask why a lot. You know, why do things work that way in the world? And just keep that positive, inquisitive nature going. It will really pay off in the end.
So this next slide is about getting comfortable sharing your ideas with other people and engaging with other people's ideas. So this kind of conversation may be completely second nature to you, but I think when it comes to engaging with things you're less familiar with or less comfortable with, that's where practice can really support you. And if you, as of the moment, don't feel especially comfortable with public speaking, it's a great thing to get multiple exposures to and experience with, so that you can feel more comfortable when you're, say, interviewing for something that you really want. And that could be in a setting with a bigger group of people than just one-on-one or two-on-one. So Toastmasters is one organization where folks build up their public speaking skills and even you know, speaking off the cuff too about their ideas. There could be coursework that could help you in that, and a number of other things, mock trial, American Grand Strategy, debate clubs, but even participating in a poster session where you're sharing the outcome of research you've done is a kind of rapid fire public speaking where multiple people walk up to you and ask for a summation of what you spent your time doing. And I think it can be especially rewarding to engage across differences. One, because that can open us up to a lot of insight, but also because there's value in that challenge. And in many cases, you're going to want to convey what your values are and stances that you hold. And ideally, you're going to be able to draw others in, even if they lack familiarity with that background that you share or that perspective that you hold.
So you've probably heard this before. It's really important to reflect on all your experiences. When you come to a scholarship application, you're going to have to sit down and write some essays about who you are, what you've done, why you've done what you've done, and all of that. So getting into the habit of reflecting on what you're doing, why you're choosing the courses that you're choosing, or why you're volunteering in X place is a really important thing to do. It's really important to spend time thinking about, you know, I'm this person outside the classroom and I'm this person inside the classroom. I'm taking this set of courses. How does that work together? what makes sense of that? It may be the career you're headed towards, but why do you like those courses? You know, spend time writing about your experiences and feelings. I know I've given this advice, that I've been in this position a long time, and I've given this advice to a number of students over the years. And one of the students told me that this experience of, as they were book bagging their courses, writing down why they were choosing each one, that they would then, you know, they write this page in a journal or, you know, a document on their laptop or whatever. And then at the end of the semester, they'd go back after the exam and see if they learned what they were hoping to learn. And they found that this was a really fun way to think about their semester and to try and put things together. It really will help you when the time comes to think about what happens after Duke.
And here's some advice from David Frisch, another student we've worked with who's headed to Oxford next year.
I wish that when I was a first year, I had known that there's some processes you can't speed up. In a lot of sports, you can practice your shot over and over again, doing specific drills to train a technical change. When you're studying for standardized tests, you can take test after test and practice certain types of questions. But there is no quick way to figure out what you want to study, what matters most to you, or how you're going to make a difference, being the best version of your authentic self. When I came to Duke, I felt pretty certain that I was going to major in political science. Then, in my first year, I found that I loved my classes in history, and English, and Spanish, equally as much. Being a part of Honor Council was meaningful, and the volunteering I did in Durham felt right to me. I was pulling myself in many different directions and getting really stressed out about it. Ultimately, I did end up majoring in political science, but none of that exploratory time was wasted. Much more important than knowing my major was figuring out that I am fascinated by how groups of people set and uphold morals that we live by together. Months and really years of experiences gave me a deeper understanding of who I am. As a first year, don't think you can rush the process, but do throw yourself passionately into it. Let the excitement of new opportunities and friends set a fire under you. Pick problems and confront challenges that you won't resolve in a day, and be okay with that. Ultimately, learning how to be a good teammate or a fair coach is more important than any elbow placement you can drill by shooting the basketball over and over again.
So with all this said, our best advice, if you want to, at the end of your career or in your sophomore year, apply for some of these great scholarships, or even, you know, as you think about getting a great job or going to medical school or law school, these would be the goals that we would set for you. First and foremost, take courses that really bend your mind, okay? Get excited about them, get challenged by them, enjoy them. Each semester, try to get to know one faculty member well. People wonder about this. At the end, if you decide to apply for the Rhodes Scholarship, you're going to need 8 letters of recommendation that begin the day you walk onto Duke campus. And so getting to know one faculty member well each semester will serve you well the spring of your junior year. But also, there are more reasons than that. I think it will enhance your semester as you make these connections with people. Do look outside the classroom to pursue your interests in research, in service, in clubs, whatever works best for you. remain aware of the world outside Duke. There is a wall around our campus, at least the East Campus, and it's sort of hidden inside the city of Durham. But there's a whole lot of world outside Duke that is really important. And when you go to an interview and they start asking you to connect your academics to current events, it's a whole lot better if you've thought about what's going on outside the world and how that connects to your interests. Even for folks who are in the sciences and want to apply for the graduate research scholarship, one of the main things you're chosen on, your science has to be important, et cetera, but you also have to talk about the broader impact of your work. How is your work going to help the world? And if you don't know about what's going on outside, it's really hard to do that. So each semester, reflect on why you're doing what you're doing and where you are showing leadership.
So we want to work with you. Again, we support all Duke students and Duke alumni. We even work with Duke's graduate and professional students when we have something we are familiar with that they're applicable to, or that's applicable to their work. We're planning to subscribe you to our email list if you have joined us today. If you do not want our emails, if you will just send me a private chat with the phrase opt out, then we will not add you there. If you have other friends you're talking with who haven't joined the session, we do have a session tomorrow where they can join us, and we are recording this for folks to watch afterwards. And you can also sign up for our emails, or others can, directly on our website. So we try to keep that email traffic low volume with roundups of some of the opportunities with upcoming deadlines. And we have a lot of various opportunities on our website. I think the next slide shows a visual of one of our most popular handouts. And so this is designed, it's a ton of info, but it's designed to give you a snapshot of a lot of awards that apply throughout your undergraduate experience and that are chunked by different themes that might be compelling to you. We also have more handouts beyond this one on our website. For our international students, many of these may have eligibility that's tied to citizenship or so forth. So we have a handout specifically for international students and also one specifically for those with DACA or who are undocumented. This slide shows our upcoming events. I want to point out the fellowships at 4. That's a weekly drop-in advising time. You don't have to know anything except what you're interested in and what kinds of things you might like to do. And we will help try to connect you with opportunities that might be open to you in the near future or further along in the future that you can have in mind.
I think we might also want to mention this is a screenshot of our website, and the handouts that Bevan was talking about. If you go to our website and just, you can Google OUSF Duke, OUSF Duke, and then look for the Nationally Competitive Scholarships tab. But if you go on the left-hand side of our page down further, you will see at the bottom of the page where all of the handouts are available for you to download and use. Okay, so we wanted to take some time, and we also want to give a shout out to Fellowships February. Always keep your eye out for this. We do this every February. We bring guests to campus from various scholarships. Sometimes it's alums, sometimes it's representatives. We've had Elizabeth Quiche, the head of the Rhodes House. We've had Mary Denyer from the Marshall Scholarship. We've had Dan Kramer, who's head of the Fulbright. All kinds of people come. And you can start going to those long, your first year if you want to. We do different panels each year, but these are some of the examples. So watch out in February for some activity from us, okay? So we want to take your questions. And so what we'd love you to do is just put your hand up in the chat box and, put your hand up or talk in the chat box. Either one works for us. And we'd love to see what your questions are.
And I'm going to turn off recording so that you don't have to worry about being preserved for all eternity on the video version of this.